now. And then when Ray joins. I think that's how that's going to work. I'm also going to send it to him privately in Slack, just in case. All right. Where is it? Anyway. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first off-season episode of the USL show in this iteration. Hooray, we did it. Thanks to our sponsors for sticking with us through the year. Roughneck Scarves, your home for any scarf you could possibly need, and even ones that you didn't know you need, like custom ones. Check those guys out, roughneckscarves.com. Also brought to you by and presented to you and uploaded by the Beautiful Game Network podcast, which everyone here is a part of, so that's cool. BGN.FM on the interwebs and at the BGN FM on the Twitters. Go check all of those 900 podcasts we have out. Speaking of having way too many friends and not knowing what to do with them, first person that you already know of is Ryan Allen, the man that puts the show in the show notes, and he's here. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, Evan. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Just dealing with some senior year stuff with ECU.
Senior year stuff, like not wanting to go to class, and I know you're not of age, so you can't drink. But yeah, just blowing off classes forever.
Yeah, I go to class every day, but I'll be on the field for the ECU football game Saturday, so that's fun.
Nice. Your first mistake, going to class. Anyway, don't listen to me. Also here, someone that I bother through a hotline a bunch on his podcast over at Speedway Soccer Pod. I just call him Slapey or Slape. Other people might know him as John. It's Jonathan Slape. Hi, John.
Hey, Evan. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad.
What if I gave everyone that asked me that question in return as a courtesy a different answer? That would have been amazing. Be like, how are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm terrible, thanks. And then I just kept going. Anyway, the bit that could have been. Also joining me, the only bull rancher in the tri-state area. It's Joe from Raising Bulls. Joe, how's it going?
It's going very well. How are you doing? You're supposed to give a different answer. You blew it again.
No, but now I can't because everyone knows that that's so I have to not. I'm fine. There, it's different, but it's not different enough.
There you go.
Also, I don't know who. Well, because he's not sure if he's a part of Last Word on Soccer or Backchat Show anymore. I don't know if he's a part of either of those things anymore, but I mean, it's one or the other. Our better sounding because of his accent friend. It's Mark Turner. Mark, how's it going?
I'm actually with neither organization. This is Jake Edwards from the USL. Have I told you that the USL is the largest second-tier professional soccer league in the world?
Yes, actually. But it's okay because, sir, it is an honor to have you. Man, I can't wait for people to hear the audio of this and not know that you're not Jake Edwards because they won't be able to tell that your accent's different. It'll be great. I should have just been like, oh, yeah, it's Jake Edwards.
I would ask you how you are, but I...
Have you heard? Okay, all right, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. And also joining us, it is the talented half of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. Thank God it's not Dylan. It's Ray. How's it going, man?
Everything's going great, gentlemen. Thanks for letting me join you guys on this amazing show. And yes, I'll say it. I'm the better half of the more entertaining half.
The clear better half. No, it's Dylan's.
Dylan's a great guy, and he's jumped on some pods, and he's very knowledgeable. So we're a great team.
Anytime I can give out to him, and I only do so because he does it to himself, so I feel like I have permission, and that's all I need in life. Anyway, guys, I don't know if you know, but there was a game that was played on Thursday.
Really?
There was.
I didn't notice it. I was driving home from work and going to a soccer practice here in the West Coast, so...
Yeah. Your reigning and defending USL champions Louisville City are now reigning and defending again. 1-0 win over Phoenix Rising from the University of Louisville at Lynn Stadium. It was a Luke Spencer goal in the 62nd minute. I guess just overall thoughts for whoever wants to start. I don't really have a preference.
First off, I just want to bridge with the suggestion that it was a soccer match.
Yeah, it was a very Eastern Conference match for Louisville, which is exactly what they wanted to play. I think you heard both coaches and a lot of players and even some media throughout the week say the Eastern Conference tends to be a little more physical and less open certainly than the West. And I think credit to John Hackworth maybe for drawing this one up, but a lot of guys got stuck in.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a physical game from the offset. I mean, I think there was a couple instances fairly early on where the referee could have gone to his pocket and carded a couple guys for some pretty harsh and strong challenges. Mm-hmm. Having watched Nashville play at Slugger Field 3 other times this season, it was nice to see that field at the University of Louisville. It's a much better playing surface. I mean, I know it was still a little rough from previous U of L games, but I mean, it's just nice that it wasn't on Slugger Field.
Yeah, Jonathan, and you were saying with the kind of just how rough it was at the start, there were a combined 6 yellow cards on the night and 35 fouls conceded from both teams. So it was definitely like a lot more fouls than what either side would typically be giving up in a match.
That's so indicative of what Louisville had done all season. They play really, really physical, and they basically just try to knock teams out of their rhythm, and it worked for them. It worked for them all the way through to the final.
Well, it doesn't help that Phoenix tends to go down quite easily. Yeah. We saw that in the Orange County match, and the world or the U.S. got to see it in this final match as well. As a lot of players, even Drogba goes down quite easily, which can be frustrating as an opposing fan, but it didn't help him.
Yeah, for sure. They also missed a couple of pretty good chances, if I'm honest. They, I don't know if deserved. I guess I'll say they deserved a goal out of it, and maybe they did. But tell you what. Brian Ownby was just burning down either side of the field on either half, and they did not have an answer for him, which joined the club in the playoffs apparently, because if Brian Ownby is on a playoff team, he's just going to tear you up for 90 minutes or about. I think he did get subbed off late, but that's a guy that just puts in a shift and puts his head down and runs for days.
Was Brian Ownby the guy to be most likely to be a club bouncer?
Yes. Yeah. Or like a pirate.
Yeah. He was more. And at the other end of the field, Phoenix seemed to strong together. That was cohesive in attack, and I wonder if their challenge all season long. I mean, it seems ridiculous to say in the final game of the season they're still struggling to determine who their best attacking line. It does seem to be an embarrassment of riches, which even though they made the USL final season long.
Yeah.
Well, I would say a big issue for Phoenix in the match was missing Cortez there at the top. They've gotten used to his ability to hold the ball and help create and allow Drogba to be a little bit more creative back there, and that was a big miss for them in the match, definitely.
And even Drogba wasn't safe from it. He ended the match with a yellow card on his own.
Yeah. Man. His tweet, he's not done, apparently.
I mean, there was still that Louisville City fan when he was walking out who shouted at Drogba that your career ends in Louisville, Kentucky.
That was probably the biggest, right?
You think when he started his career when he was playing over in Stamford Bridge, that he didn't picture that moment?
That was it. It all goes down in Kentucky.
Right, yeah.
Well, with Drogba coming back now, we'll get to hear from the Phoenix fans complaining that when other clubs use Drogba on their advertisements for the matches, because apparently they hate that. So,
I mean, come on, like it's Didier Drogba, guys. It's a guy that everyone knows.
Definitely.
Ryan, you do stat things. I know people know this of you. You've put out a top 5 best teams in USL history, which I know in the USL show chat privately, we've been a little upset because you really shouldn't do this because, you know, teams have played different amounts of games and the level of competition has greatly improved in, you know, from last year this year, it seems, let alone, you know, from 10 years ago or whatever. But you did put together the 5 best teams in quote unquote USL history. Would you care to rattle them off?
Yeah, sure. And of course, a disclaimer that these teams have played an uneven amount of games. And like Evan was saying, that the competition quality has definitely improved and changed over the last, even since 2011. But as like the top 5 best teams in USL history per ELO ratings, it's been number 1 is the 2016 New York Red Bulls 2. Then you do 2017 Louisville, 2018 Louisville, the 2015 Rochester Rhinos. And tied for 5th was 2013 Orlando City and 2018 FC Cincinnati, putting Cincinnati as this year Cincinnati's seen as the best team to never win a title.
I think that's on their crest.
It's not a star.
We played 3 years somewhere else, and we're not going to tell you where, so you can't see how we did.
Certainly not a star on their crest.
Well, don't. See, there's always next year. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. No, there's not. No, guys, it'll be cool. They'll finish like 3rd in MLS because they're right there with Atlanta United, I promise.
I had this discussion about the 2016 Red Bull team. Obviously, a team that is near and dear to my heart. Sure. With Cincinnati fans during the season, and like to try to make that comparison is so difficult because. Yes, I know that there were loanees that came down to the Red Bull 2 side from MLS, but they were few and far between on that championship team. Yeah. A lot of academy players that cameoed throughout the season. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati had an embarrassment of riches that were boasting that squad. So I think it's at a different level.
I mean, Adi was being paid $1.9 million, which is more than what Zlatan was making with the Galaxy.
I'm positive that was more than the entire 2016 Red Bulls.
Guys, are we? Does anyone else have any thoughts before I get into some news that I'm going to try to burn through?
Are we talking about thoughts on the match or?
I mean, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I was going to get into each of your teams respectively in a bit, but if you have anything on, I guess, Louisville or Phoenix or the playoffs or Ray, whatever you want, man.
Well, I want to say props to the fans for Louisville and Phoenix. I mean, they both showed up and they were loud. You could hear them on the broadcast.
Yeah.
You know, here in Orange County, we experienced the Phoenix fans firsthand at our stadium. Although I think the numbers were bloated on their end. But they were still an amazing fan base on both sides, and it was great to see. I think Phoenix, the big issue with this match, and you know, it's something you could probably have expected, is the cold up there in Louisville at the match. You could tell, you know, some of these shots just shooting high from Drogba and the others out there. That cold was a big factor for them. They're used to playing in warmer weather, and that definitely, I think, hurt them in this match. But you know, props to Louisville. It was great. That one run down the field. Darn it, the name is now the guy you were talking about earlier.
Ownby.
Yeah. That one that made down the field and got by 2 defenders and almost had it if the LAFC loanee didn't get in there at the last moment. It was.
No, I mean, I think just my final thoughts is, I mean, it was an entertaining game, and I think it was a good. While it was early, especially on the West Coast, I think it was a good showcase for USL as a whole and the brand as a whole. And it is good to see the Louisville. It's so hard to hate Louisville City, at least in my dealings with them. Their fans are just so nice. It's just one of those teams that it's hard to really hate. So hats off to them, and you know, they recovered from, you know, losing a coach in the middle of the season to still, you know, to only finish, I think, 2 points off their total from last season.
Yeah, I mean, to echo what you said, really great organization. I have not had a bad interaction with anybody over there, which is awesome. Not that I've really had any with anybody in USL, but really quality guys. I would love to give a shout out to Brad Estes, the president, because what he's put together is I don't think admirable does it justice, but I'm struggling for another word. Really impressive. I don't know. Unparalleled almost. But for him to come in, obviously to put as much money as he has into USL, which was not the safest of investments at the time, I wouldn't think. And he gets rewarded with his 4 trophies, and 2 of those are big ones, and back to back at that. So good for him. They took a little longer on the coaching search than I think they would have liked, but Hackworth has done very well, which good on him. And just the amount of quality players that they're bringing in and everything like that, it's they're definitely a top class team for sure, and I'm very happy they will be out of that baseball stadium. Dear God, the sooner the better.
2020.
Yeah, it's not soon enough.
Right as we leave them, we never, unless we get to face them in an Open Cup, we'll never get to play in that stadium.
That's not a bad thing.
We'll avoid MLS.
Well, that is actually. Yeah. Anyway, hearing nothing else, I'm gonna burn down some news.
Go for it.
Speak now or forever hold your peace is the theme of the night for my fellow hosts and podcasters here. I will move on without you, much like Jack in Titanic. I don't know.
Too soon.
Yeah, well, I could have done one.
There's room on that door.
there was so much
There
room
was.
on the door. Welcome to the USL show, the Titanic podcast. What are we doing this off season? I'm glad you asked. We're talking about the Titanic. Imagine how many people we'd lose or are losing currently. Who knows? We're gonna find out. Real quick, USL League.
They're getting ready to launch a Titanic 2.
They are.
Yeah,
That's true.
actually, I don't know if you saw it, but
legitimately.
it came across. It's now going to be called Titanic League One.
If Titanic 2 doesn't sink, it's not realistic.
There
I'll
are
set
no
them
more
up, you knock
icebergs.
them in. I get an
That's
assist
true.
on that one, right? I get an assist on that one.
Yeah, it was good. Speaking of League One news, see what I did there? A couple things. The Madison team is going to announce their name and colors and branding on November the 18th. Get ready for that one. If it's Forward Madison, I'm going to fly out there and punch somebody. I like their colors. It's good. But
The name is awful.
the Forward Madison name needs to die in a fire. Every time I told former Wisconsin Badger Mike Catalano that was their name, A, he would forget about it, and B, his reaction would just be Jesus Christ. So that's all you need to know.
Colors
Other
are
announcements. What's that? The colors are
Colors
great.
are-
I love the
I like
colors.
the pale blue and red.
Other League One things. Lansing Ignite is announcing their manager this Wednesday, the 14th. And the Chattanooga Red Wolves have signed Stephen Beatty from the League of Ireland Premier Division, from joining from Cork City. So has Europa League experience, has Champion League experience against League of Warsaw. I know a thing or two about Old Irishmen and what they can do for a team in a lower league in the U.S., and that's not a bad place to start. So I'm excited for that one. Since I know you guys don't get to talk about it a whole lot, and before I figure out what we're going to do on this show about League One, does anyone have any thoughts about like the branding or any of the teams or any of the roster moves or anything about that?
I want to see more, like you were talking about Forward Madison, right? I want to see more like minor league baseball style team names, like the Muskrats.
No.
No, Swamp Dogs.
The Isotopes.
Yes.
The ice
Red
ice-
Wolves
ice-
is the
there you
deepest
go.
we're gonna get.
this all night. I mean,
I guess probably my one thought on League One as a whole is these are smaller teams, and I know League One is meant to be a little cheaper to run, but with as spread out as they're going to be, I just feel like that's a lot of travel for some of these teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's reminiscent of 2011 USL.
Yeah, very much so. It's just I just feel that it's going to be expensive for a lot of these teams, and some of these cities are not easy to get to.
no.
I mean,
Yeah. It's difficult to get to some of these random cities, smaller markets, and I could see that becoming trouble for some of the clubs, especially the newer ones coming in with a little bit less experience on this travel that is
Sure.
involved on pro sports. But it's neat to have some of these smaller cities and smaller markets as far as being a fan and getting to experience those, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least minus the West Coast, it seems like the East Coast sides are all kind of grouped together. I mean, you have Madison, Lansing, Toronto up in one part, then you do Chattanooga, Greenville, South Georgia, and then kind of Taunton, Orlando in that part. Richmond is kind of in the middle. They'll have travel partners with Penn and Rochester. At least for the Eastern Conference, it seems fine.
And if you're gonna have one team travel a bunch, and not, but like having the Phoenix Rising affiliate be the one to do most of the travel might not be the worst thing in the world, because I think the first team of Phoenix Rising can kind of some of that cost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Bring back Antigua.
No, bring back the Austin Aztecs, please.
They're in Orlando.
I know that. Well, yeah. I said the A word about soccer. I apologize. That was my fault.
Just rebrand them the Bold Aztecs.
No. That didn't exist. Just change it. I really need like a I don't know, Fort Worth italics.
They had El Paso Locomotive. If they're going to go off all the Russian names, they might as well choose other parts of Russia. I'm looking forward to Seska Fort Worth.
Hey, El Paso got a nice plug last week from Beto O'Rourke, who was the day of the election. He was rolling around in a Locomotive El Paso hat.
There you go. And then he said a bad word. Because, heaven forbid. Anyway, Titanic and politics this offseason.
Yep.
Get ready for it. It's
amazing topics.
Religion.
We're going to hit none of and all of the hot button topics at the same time this offseason. We're going to start conversation about them. I'm going to make a hard pivot, and we're going to stop talking about them.
Let's start in 1982 and go through all the Best Picture movies that didn't win.
Oh God! Oh man, this is awful. Guys, Ottawa's Maxime Crépeau is your goalkeeper of the year in USL Championship news.
Well deserved. He's a good player.
He's a very good player on a not very good team.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 shutouts for the Fury, and they still missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Well, it's not his fault.
He's one stopping goal, so it kind of is.
All right. I mean, what was in front of him
was
was
good player.
not great.
He's still a very good player. I was kidding.
He was injured for a part of the season as well, too.
Yes, he was.
31 appearances.
Yeah, so the 2 or whatever that he missed, he was injured.
For some reason,
He would have played every game.
Math.
Is there any was there any indication or anything from the league that showed like how the awards are chosen? I've always been curious on that. I know that's been a discussion in the past.
Yeah, so what is it? The Golden Glove and obviously Golden Boot are just purely statistical. The goalkeeper of the year, coach of the year, defender of the year, all that stuff are independent media vote. So each
Yeah, Kripe had 39% of the vote.
Okay. Yeah, each team nominates a beat writer essentially. And at the end of the year the league sends out a chart or a survey. And they take your top 3 for each category and go from there.
And then they give it to Didier Drogba.
Right, yeah. The number of the year award in USL is Didier Drogba. Yeah, and then the other one that came out, Forrest Lasso, is the defender of the year, which not surprising. I think the second time he's won this. Yeah.
Well, at least Cincinnati won something.
It's true. It's very true. They did.
Including their shield.
That's true. They did win the shield.
Shields don't count.
Oh,
in America.
I don't want to get into this discussion.
Let's say we can talk to Red Bull fan about that.
There's a very pointed reason I said kids don't count, and it's because one person on this podcast.
That's right.
I think you'll find.
I take what I could get. There's almost never any hope for the Red Bulls in the playoffs, and so you cling to what you have. It's like being a battered spouse.
I think you'll find that Cincinnati won fresh.
For the Red Bulls in the playoff, I want to say I'm sorry for the 2008 MLS Cup final as a Crew fan.
Oh, don't get me started.
Welcome to airing our grievances. This is going to be oddly therapeutic for everybody this offseason. I'm looking forward to it.
There's a good USL connection to that, though, because John Wolyniec scored the goal in that match for the Red Bulls. The only Red Bull to ever score in the MLS Cup final.
Is now coaching the 2 team.
Yep.
It was held in StubHub Center.
Yep.
Then the Home Depot Center at the time.
That's right.
Man. You know, like when people around you know way too much information that you don't know, and so you feel bad that like you're the driving force behind this thing, where like people think that you know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
That seems way too specific.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know who I could possibly be talking about, but maybe me. Anyway, other news we got here. What else? Oh yeah, this is a fun one. Cordovez leaves Richmond for Memphis 901 FC. Links up with the forward Battery and current Memphis 901 FC president Andrew Bell. Cordovez, 5 years with Charleston, 7 goals and 24 appearances this year with the Kickers. That's a good pickup for him.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like Bell's working his former Battery connection. It wouldn't surprise me to see either former Battery players or current Battery players just move on to Memphis, and I'm just most looking forward to the Memphis 901 versus Reno 1868 match.
It's such a terrible name. I just gotta get that out there.
The crest is clean.
The crest is great, but like either be Memphis FC or 901 FC. You don't need both.
Ooh, 901 FC.
Also, can I air another grievance?
Please.
The Memphis 901 scarves don't need to be $40.
What?
$40.
$40. Wow.
You can buy a house in Memphis for $40.
Oh my God. Hello, people at Memphis who may or may not be people in Memphis who are totally listening to this podcast. One, I disagree that your scarf should be $40. 2, I also disagree that you can buy property in Memphis for $40. This is me, Evan, speaking. I'm not saying that you should send me a scarf now that I know how much it costs. But like, maybe get in touch with our friends. Roughneck scarves. You can do better than $40.
But every scarf you buy from Memphis, it makes you part owner of the team. So.
Oh wait, no, does it? Because like I'm trying to meet Tim Howard real quick.
You just need a majority, so
yeah, I was building up really good karma within the league this year too.
Tear it all down.
And then Ryan was like, "Hey, can I tell you these scarves are $40 on air?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Sorry, I can apologize that I
listen,
that by you.
That needed to be said because that's insane.
Especially when El Paso scarves are only $13.99.
Whoa! All right, now okay, y'all need to talk to each other, Memphis and El Paso. I need them to play each other and have it be called like the scarves should be affordable derby.
No, that should be the tifo for the El Paso supporters group.
It should be. It really should be. Our scarves are affordable.
Wow, Evan, you really should take up naming derbies.
I should. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. I appreciate it.
We're sticking with that. Okay.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
that being said, I am looking forward to the games against Memphis next year, which with him being a short drive down the road from us here in Nashville.
Jonathan, why didn't any team in Tennessee want to be called 10 SC?
Yeah, now that you're here, we can ask you that.
I don't know. So I don't know if I've sent Evan the picture. So one of the local breweries, they did brew a beer called 10 SC IPA, and it's a hop and a soccer ball.
All right, but is it good?
It's actually very delicious.
All right, well then, good.
I'll try it next July then.
I'll allow it. Indy 11's big news today, which okay, Martin Rennie is back. Brian Cook did a janky Twitter live stream and said that, he didn't think there was any reason for Martin Rennie not to be back, and I agree.
Yeah.
You make the playoffs. You get stomped by Louisville, but I mean, everyone else did that this year, so.
Yeah, no shame in that. And it's not like he did a poor job. I thought they looked well organized. They defended well. You saw a lot of what you want to see from a lower division East Coast team. They're defending first and looking for those opportunities, but it makes you wonder why that had to be an announcement.
A little bit, right?
You got to stay relevant in the news with all the other great news going on.
Hey, we're still here.
Yeah. Remember, Indy? Hi. We have a team. The coach is back.
Is that a recording from the press conference?
That is what Trey Hickman sounds like. Exactly.
They just did it from a closet at Lucas Oil Field.
They did it. Oh my God! Imagine if they did it on the field and the whole stadium was empty. The echo would be amazing.
They have 8 wins at Lucas Oil this year. If the Colts win all their home games, they'd have the same number.
See, I mean, what more can you ask?
So I don't think that's happening. The Colts are like 6-3 at the moment or something.
It's a big move by Jake Edwards to try to invade on football by going, hey, we're just as good as this.
Yeah, the Colts already lost at home. Never mind.
Oh, all right. Yeah. See?
Twice.
Better than that. I think that's all I got, right? That's it. Is that it? Can that be it? Yeah, we're good. All right, great.
Cincinnati logo's out.
Oh, I should, whatever. Yeah. Who are they? Ryan, this isn't the MLS show. They're not a part of this team. All right, well, that's a decently fair shout. All right, yeah, whatever, guys. Bad or not?
It's pretty bad.
All right,
yeah,
great.
I don't like it.
Okay.
You used 2 different blues.
Oh no! Wait, no.
They
really?
Did.
Oh
yeah,
no!
The Cincinnati typeface is different from the
shield. Yeah, it's a navy and a royal blue.
Oh yeah.
Well, all right. Now I can't.
I'm gonna nominate my Microsoft Paint Job logo.
Now that they use 2 different blues. I can't. You're disqualified.
This is why you don't let a local design firm in Cincinnati do your logo.
Wasn't like
in other news, there's a great opening for design firms in Cincinnati.
Well, the sad thing is, so they used Interbrand, and Interbrand is a global company, but they
I was gonna say, aren't they technically Italian?
Well, yeah, Interbrand, because they did the Juve rebrand.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. So they did the Juve rebrand, but they just used their people in their Cincinnati office for this logo.
Well,
yeah, so if you want to work for Interbrand and move to Cincinnati.
It's a total retro-looking logo, and I thought the retro thing was like 10 years ago when all teams were trying to go retro. I think that's sort of past.
Yeah.
So
it looks like a generic football
like an oil can logo.
An oil can logo?
I can see that.
Like from the 70s.
Yeah.
It's like a logo you'd find on Ultimate Team. I mean, for all the Italian Serie B teams were all generic logos, so maybe that's the connection.
I believe it. Gentlemen, the ulterior motive for bringing you here, because I figured why not start this now, because at the rate we're going with the amount of teams we have, this will wrap up right around the start of the season, is to get some exit interviews out of the way. So, in no particular order, I suppose, Ray, I'll let you start things off with Orange County. How was your year?
The Orange County's season, I think, went beyond what most people expected before the season kicked off, including, I think, a lot of the fans. I mean, we knew we had a pretty decent group of players and a coaching staff that we were excited about, but I don't think anyone could have envisioned, 1 or 2 goals away from reaching the finals, albeit, the home match would have been stolen from us, which that's a whole different topic of what's, been talked about in the past. A great group of guys on the field, on the pitch, a bunch of great players that combined. If you looked earlier on the season, midway through the season, towards the end, there was a lot of growth in the chemistry. Thomas Enevolton and Michael Seton definitely built up a great chemistry throughout that season, and it showed towards the end there when both of them were just continuously scoring. They built a very strong team, brought in experienced players to make a push in the playoffs, which definitely helped. And props to the staff. I think there was recently an article, I think in the LA Times, which is very rare for us here in Division II soccer. We get very little major media coverage, whether it's television, newspapers, whatever. I mean, our podcast and a couple blogs are really the main source for news. We learned, I think, in that article that the front office staff grew from like 3 to 30 since Mr. Keston took over the club. So you could see that growth with this team and what they've been able to do, and re-signing of players, which has been amazing as well, and coaches.
Yeah, for anyone that paid any attention to the LA Blues to now is night and day, which is awesome.
No, definitely. My partner Dylan is, goes a little bit further back as a fan, back into the OC Blues days. I watched a few OC Blues games, but really it wasn't until the season that I really got into the team. And a part of that was, I mean, again, no one knows or knew about that team back then. It's still hard to get people to know about this team nowadays. Anyone that follows us on Twitter know we had a wonderful back and forth conversation with some amazing Phoenix fans that listen to our podcast, by the way, which I want to say again, thanks for listening, even though if you didn't like it. It was great just to sort of try and share with them what the difference is here in Orange County compared to other places around the country, and how difficult it is to get fans to continuously come out and spend money in Orange County when you have 2 of every major sport, 2 major colleges, beaches, Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm. San Diego's a stone's throw away. Vegas is 5-hour drive. So there's just so much for people to do here. It's difficult. But the growth that this team saw throughout the season, the growth in fans, and even the supporter group itself. I mean, you can see from the beginning of the season to where it was on that last match, it was night and day. So we're looking forward to next season, because we think with what we're bringing back and what the ownership has showed, I mean, we're going to probably have something strong for next season as well.
And then final question before I let you off the hot seat. One player to look out for next year.
Difficult to sort of pick a player when you don't really know what your full roster is going to be. But the one I'm going to Aiden Quinn would be the obvious one that everyone sort of already knows about. But I'm looking for an even further breakout for Michael Seton. He's a very young player. He's got some great pace. He's really strong, and he gets in other players' heads. We saw that throughout this season with some stuff, and even in the playoffs where you had some of the players just getting a little bit frustrated with him. We saw that in the St. Louis match when I think it's Tony Walls got the red card in that match. So I think he's going to be the one that we're going to look for a big breakout, even more so than what he had this year, because he just has tons of potential. And I think he's looking for a way back into MLS. So what better way to do that than have just another amazing season in USL and continue that growth as a young player.
For sure. Young Jamaicans impacting this league aplenty the last couple years, which is really cool to see. I love the growth of that Jamaican national team, especially. They've been really formidable in the last couple of years, which is awesome. I'll stick in the Western Conference. Mark, excuse me, that's not your real name. Jake Edwards, give me the rundown on Colorado Springs. I know it's hard to, you can't really play favorites as the guy that runs the whole show, but for whatever reason, I've decided that you should give us the rundown on the Super.
Well, this would be the first time that Jake Edwards has paid any attention to Colorado Springs. But why break with tradition? Hey, I'm eating tacos right now.
All right. Great. I'll come back.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, you laugh. He's a busy man. Oh my God, this is my favorite podcast.
I'm craving some tacos now.
I know. I just ate, and I really could use some.
Now we got to get into like, where's the best taco? Where can you find the best taco?
Oh, it's true. We have to. Oh my god! But we all have to like mention like local chains that no one knows. Like it can't just be like, oh, Chipotle.
Taco
Like it's
Bell
got
is
to be
unquestionably the best taco place.
Yeah. Like bottom of the barrel, like a hole in the wall Mexican joints that no one's gonna know outside of like 5 people. All right. Well, because Mr. Edwards is terribly busy, I will actually counter back to myself and say that I skipped some news, which is impressive given that it's about Bethlehem Steel. And usually any excuse I can get to talk about this team I take. They're going to play all their games in Talon Energy Stadium in Chester, Pennsylvania next year, home of the first team. Because U.S. soccer mandates the field that you play on, if you're a Division II team, has to have stadium lights. Goodman Stadium on the campus of Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, does not have stadium lights. And they were on a waiver to play there this last year. And then the USL revoked that or it expired. They've been looking around for, I guess, 1.5 years now to try to find a site in the Lehigh Valley. And there's nothing that they deemed that would be ready in time for 2019. What's weird is they're going to try to play 2 games somewhere in the Lehigh Valley at a site to be determined, probably because the USL is going to have to sign off on it. What wouldn't be surprising to me is if that site ends up being what they kind of renovate and turn into their permanent home. Just because if the league already goes, yeah, that's good enough to play 2 games, I would think that you wouldn't have to do a ton to make it D2 certifiable. Am I mad about this? It's going to make it a lot easier to play some of these academy kids in a way, I think. And the guys train in Chester and everything all week as it is. So, I mean, in terms of organizational headaches, there's probably a little bit less of one. But at the same time, you've done a pretty good job of building a nice little fan base in Lehigh Valley, and those people are probably inconsolably pissed off right now, which is also fine. The league didn't really comment other than they totally think that the search up in the Lehigh Valley is genuine and that the union are actually actively trying to find something. It's just anyone that's been up there knows that there's not a whole lot of spots I can think of off the top of my head that are going to be ready that don't involve, demolishing a field or buying a bunch of property. So, and I don't want them to play on a baseball field. That's my big.
Did Steel ever consider just putting lights at Goodman Stadium? Because I can't feel that's terribly expensive.
Right. So there was 2 kind of things that they were thinking about with Goodman, or I guess one thing. But the one is that the athletic director in 2016 for Lehigh University was actually like brand new, and he really wanted stadium lights at that football field for their football program, if nothing else. Problem being the president of Lehigh University has been there forever, and the AD wasn't going to pick that battle over lights. He felt there was, other things that were a little more important than lights for the football stadium. So that was kind of out of the option. The other thing that I heard was that they were thinking about using Lehigh's soccer facility as it was, just because there's stands and it's a nice enough field. And, you can always pay like $200 and put new stands up or whatever, like temporary risers. Only problem with that was that they'd have to build an entirely new locker room. And no one wanted to pay for that. So, yeah, it's a little tricky. But it'll be nice to see them play on a soccer field that's not getting ripped up by a football team in the second half of the season.
But overall, I think one of the things that highlights is the MLS2 teams and the challenges that they face for perception is to try to grow their own fan base and have fans attached to that team without, I guess, maybe the understanding that so much of what they're doing there is about developing those players, and having them closer to home is going to help a lot. And being able to, even send down players, in a more organic way or just a quicker way will help the Philadelphia Union. But that doesn't help Bethlehem Steel, and I wonder what that's like for those fans. Red Bull 2 don't have that problem because they don't have fans.
Yeah, I especially think because it's interesting because I feel, I mean, just as an outsider, someone who's not close to the organization, but seeing that Steel have built a brand for themselves. They didn't choose to go to the route of, you know, being Union 2 or something like that.
Right.
It definitely has to, you know, hurt for those fans that, you know, spend time and energy into that team. I mean, when Steel was here this past season, I mean, there was probably, you know, 15, 20 people that came down to watch them play, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah. And, you know, not that I have to say it, or hopefully I don't have to say it, but no one at the Union organization, especially given the growth that Steel had, I think, this year in terms of results and player development and, you know, attendance, no one's happy that this is what they have to do. You know, for as much as, you know, saving on travel or whatever, Joe, like you said, and like, you know, with Red Bull 2, it's a lot easier to just have everyone in one spot. It looks a lot better. It makes the league look better when there's more than 20 people there.
Yep.
So, yeah, not that I have to say it, but to do a little bit of courtesy from talking with people in the Union organization, no one's happy that this is happening. There you go. John, tell me about Nashville, man.
So I'm gonna preface this by saying that probably I was one of the more pessimistic people with how our season turned out.
Because you're pessimistic.
From the rest of our team, but I mean, I think based on expectations going into this season as a new USL team was, you know, qualifying for and making the playoffs. It was in any situation, it was never pretty soccer. I mean, for those of us that are familiar with Gary Smith, he doesn't play all-out attacking soccer. I mean, we all remember the 2010 MLS Cup final. But at the end of the day, the defense was strong. We had some good performances. We were really anchored by Matt Pickens and his veteran presence at the back. We beat a pseudo MLS team in the Colorado Rapids in Open Cup, which was a big thing for the organization at the time. You know, we just struggled to score goals all season. We had a pretty good home record, but just struggled at home. I mean, struggled to score goals and struggled to get some of the smaller teams away. We did try to rectify that with, you know, bringing in Brandon Allen, who started strong and scored a couple goals right at the beginning, and then, you know, really dropped off the face of the earth for quite a while. But at that point, you know, he ended the season pretty strong. He kind of carved out a niche as a super sub role, which I don't think he is probably happy with, and a role that he wants to play. But in the last couple games of the season, he was coming off the bench and scoring pretty consistently. So all in all, first year as an organization, there's definitely some things to learn from, but all in all, a pretty decent result.
One person you'd bring back next year?
So from what I understand, a lot of the players are on 2-year contracts. So that's something that's, I think we're going to see a lot of these starters come in. I'm looking forward to seeing what Alan Wynn does. He started off hot, got injured, you know, toward the beginning of the season, was out for a little bit. And it was his first year as a professional. So looking to see what he can bring, looking to see how Lebo Moloto bounces back from his gruesome injury at the end of the season. And then looking to see what happens with Rapapa Mensah as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Also, always driving the Balalo Akinyote hype train. That guy is an absolute monster.
Bowler's great. I miss Bowler. Joe, talk Baby Bulls to me.
All right. So obviously, you know, we were just talking about this in terms of what the focus of that organization is and its player development. Any results are just pudding. So being able to get to a conference final for the last 3 seasons, that's fantastic. But what I wanted to see this year and what I did see was the continued improvement of players from last season, and a couple of really bright spots that came into the team this year. Starting with players that improved. Hassan Ndam, I thought, had a really difficult summer, but by September had kind of figured out his role in a way that he had never done before with the organization. And with an eye to the future, knowing that the Tim Parker contract situation is not settled, Aurelian Collin is very likely out after this season. Fidel Escobar, who is likely not going to be getting playing time here, is likely going to move. So Ndam has a path to the first team, and to see him turn it around the way that he did, I think is really, really encouraging. Another guy that I was really big on heading into the season, and he continued to show grit and determination and really what I think it means to be a central midfielder for a Red Bull team, Andrew Tinari. He was pushed into a very unfamiliar role further up the field, and he played that number 10 spot in a way that is not a beautiful playmaking player, but he did that thing that I love so much about him, which is forcing defenses and opposing teams to make quick decisions by just closing them down, not necessarily getting in tackles, but just forcing them to make a decision faster than maybe they're comfortable doing. And then on the other side of things, they've got a couple of guys that I think were fantastic this year, namely Jared Stroud, who, you know, I don't think a lot of people coming into the season had expectations that he would be a starter, let alone a standout. And as, you know, a lot of other guys were going down, he really stepped up in a big way, starting by just assisting so much in the early parts of the season, but then kind of finding his form as a goal scorer. After he scored the most fantastic goal of the season off of his face. Goalkeeper cleared the ball into his face. You can't have an easier goal as a player.
Yeah. I was upset that wasn't up for goal of the year.
Right? It's crying shame. But, you know, John Wolynek and Ibrahim Sagaya just continue to churn out these fantastic players and help them transition into their pro careers. And I could not absolutely be happier with how they ended. And I think that coming into the season, if you had told me that they would make the playoffs, I would have been very happy to see them achieve what they did on the road over the last month of the season. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do obviously someone that you'd want to see back next year, but is there anyone in the academy right now that you're like, hey, play for Red Bull too?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that have spent time with the team, but have been unable to continue because they're going to college. Marcelo Borges is one of those guys. I think he's a fantastic left back. I thought that he was somebody that they would sign this season, but it did not happen. He's in the midst of, I think, his senior year now. So I would expect him next season to be stepping up with the team. And then Kevin O'Toole, who could also play on either side of the back line. And given the way that Ethan Cutler finished the year, I would think that they're going to be looking for outside back help.
God, they're entering college. Now I feel old.
Yeah, it's happening to Ryan now. Listen, there's and Joe understand how much this means coming from me. There's a scarf over there. There's a reason Red Bull are the signpost for doing this.
Yeah,
because they do it better than anybody else, and they've consistently done it better than anybody else. I love Hassan Ndam.
Oh, good.
Because he's like a cocky center back, and it's my favorite.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, I'm going to shut down Fernando Adi," and then he did it.
Yeah, he's a really fun guy. When we interviewed him last year, to hear him talk about what he came from, playing soccer without cleats or shin guards and kicking around trash to learn how to play, to what he's accomplishing in the U.S. is fantastic, and it's a great story. And with Red Bull, I think a huge narrative for the organization is that they've decided to stop spending money. And what that looks like from the outside is, all right, they're not bringing big name players, but they are spending a ton of money in the academy, and they're getting it right across all those levels.
Supporter Shield is proof of that.
Yeah. Look how many guys that played major roles with the USL team that are now starting with the national team. It's unreal.
Yeah, seriously. Mark, are you back?
I couldn't eat that tacos that fast.
Okay, so let me provide some context here.
Sure.
I was rushing back to get back from work. I was already running late. I'd already promised the show. I'd already cancelled twice in recent times. So I felt bad. So I thought, okay, I've got to get on the show. But I hadn't had dinner. So to the listeners, and it's unprofessional of me to be unprofessional on a podcast.
Mark, you were listening to the rest of this podcast with everybody else. You know that we don't really, for as much as I come off as the professional one on this show, I'm just good at talking.
We talked about Titanic earlier.
We did. Yeah. It's okay. It's tacos. There are more important things than me, and tacos is up there.
Oh, and they were good too. They were spicy, all homemade, spicy pulled pork with homemade coleslaw as well.
Beautiful
stuff, man.
Beautiful.
That's all we need.
Anyway, who am I talking about?
Colorado Springs.
That's right. So, oh gosh. This is the last show of the season, so I've really got to make my best effort to put up some kind of a positive spin on the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. No, I can't. So 2018 really represented a disappointing season to date. The team's been around since 2015, and every season, statistically speaking, has gotten progressively worse. The team actually registered its lowest ever league position this season, 11th. The fewest number of goals that it's ever scored. Collected its slimmest points haul, 39 points, having played 2 more games than in any season previously, and registered their poorest points per game at 1.1 per game. 1.3 was their low in 2017. The only statistical silver lining really was column. We only conceded 39 goals in 2018, which did represent a pretty significant improvement over our previous low of 50 2017. So not much to get excited about. I do cover this more extensively. I'm going to go ahead just very briefly. Last guy posted today on Last Word on Soccer, so I'm not going to give you all the URL details on Soccer. You'll find the article detail there about summarizing the season, and then Tour may or may not return in 2019.
Yeah, the big one that leapt out, and I think it was towards the end of the season, or maybe just into the postseason. But did the Colorado Rapids affiliation officially get announced at any point, or is that still just a rumor?
No, actually, so there were 2 big announcements for the Switchbacks in the last couple of months of the season. The first is that a purpose-built is being constructed in downtown Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. So the Switchbacks will move from their current home, which was an existing stadium, which they sunk $3.5 million into bringing it up to USL standard, and the eastern side of the city, and it's kind of out of the city. So convenient for some. It's where a lot of the population is in town. It's an area of the city that's growing really rapidly, but it's not the most convenient location to get to. So the new stadium will be in a much more convenient location, assuming you can find some place to park downtown. The other big announcement that you're referencing recently is really what the 2000 the stadium's 20. We can't get things up as quickly as Phoenix, apparently. So
right.
There you go. The other big news that you referenced earlier is really going to be the talk of 2019, which is this tale of 2 cities, in that Colorado Springs will, for a reason, become the formal affiliate team of MLS Colorado Rapids.
Yeah.
So be becoming the 2 team or a reserve youth team. Jury's still out. Let's see what the relationship actually looks like but for right now, per the press conference weeks ago, the position that both teams are taking is that this will be a true relationship. The Rapids will no longer be affiliated with Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Instead of sending people across to the East Coast, getting on for about a 3,000-mile round trip, I think, they'll instead be sending people 1 hour down I-25 is compete in the USL at altitude, which should mean that when they return to the Rapids, not only are they match fit and have the competitive legs under them, mm-hmm. but they also should be, their lungs and everything should be conditioned as well for the high elevation.
Yeah, and not to make this a MLS podcast, but the Rapids are a team that I think needed to have an affiliate closer to. Granted, Charlotte and Colorado was like maybe one of the two remaining just like awful affiliate deals, which it was, the Rapids in Charlotte, which I think goes back to like the Charlotte Bobcats days and some people in the front office there. And then the other one that was just terrible was New York City and San Antonio.
And Wilmington.
Which I'm convinced. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, sorry. New York City FC and literally any affiliate they've had. Yeah.
Those are only on paper affiliations.
Right. But yeah, no, especially for both clubs, hopefully it'll be mutually beneficial if it's done right. Just because, the Rapids need a shot in the arm in terms of ideas for getting players and the switchbacks to have those guys a little bit more at their disposal. If it's founded on mutual respect and an understanding that, the Rapids have some guys or some academy kids that need to get some minutes that have some promise to them, I think it'll be really good for the switchbacks and could see them shoot up the table in the West a little bit for sure.
I mean, I think this.
Well, that's really been the question is it's obvious what the benefits will be to the Rapids, right?
Yep.
What will the benefits be to the switchbacks and will they feel oppressed by their new overlords?
Right.
But if you look at it more broadly, biggest challenge is not what's happening in the league table. Their biggest challenge is one of finance. The Colorado Springs market in the USL behind Reno, and there simply isn't the funds to support. They barely have the funds to support a good starting 11. There certainly isn't the funds to create a deep roster that will enable you to make a run into, well, firstly, to get to postseason, which we haven't done in the last two seasons, and then to actually make a deep run at it. So, if you looked at the switchbacks last year, you guys will have noticed that, when you travel, you can have 7 guys on the bench. We never had more than 5. That was a financial decision. So having access to additional players who should be at least of USL quality, if they're Rapids reserves, they should at least be of USL quality, will help the switchbacks save finances, which can then be redirected into their contracted players, which should enable them, hopefully, to bring in more guys of caliber of, a Jordan Schweitzer, a Shane Malcolm, a Josh Suggs. Although Suggs has just left, and I shouldn't have said that because now I'm starting to cry involuntarily.
I mean, I don't know if some of the starting players for Colorado Rapids are USL quality.
That's also official. Yeah, that was...
Ouch.
Yeah, not a great team. Those. I mean, man, insight is a hell of a drug. And Mark, you always bring that. Sorry, Mr. Edwards, you always bring. Man, I should have dropped that gimmick like an hour ago. I'm sure I'm gonna get a text message tomorrow being like, "Man, come on." Yeah, Mark, appreciate it. I'll save my Bethlehem grandstanding for when Phil and Kevin and Pony are here, and we can all just kind of do that as a podcast, and we'll title it "Don't listen to this if you don't want to hear us." Glad hand ourselves for an hour. We'll get out of here. Before I get into where you can find the show and all that fun stuff, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask all you gentlemen politely where people can find you. Ray, where can people find you on the internet, and where can people listen to the wonderful recent-ish addition to the podcast network, the Orange and Black Soccer Cast?
Really quick before I get into that, I just want to say, hopefully everyone heard the news, big fires in Southern California. Yeah, I know we like to make fun of Las Vegas Lights FC, but their coach, Eric Winalda, did lose his home in those fires, which whether you like to joke around, but what teams do on the field, it's still, when people are dealing with that. So I just wanted to, wish the best of luck to him and his family and anyone that's been impacted by those fires. Luckily here in Orange County, we're not too close to those, but I just wanted to say my best wishes for him and his family and for anyone else impacted by those fires. As far as our show, you can find us on our website, orangeandblacksoccercast.com. Or if you don't want to type all that in, just type in ocscpodcast.com. You can follow us on Twitter, OCSC_soccercast. Search for us on Facebook, Orange and Black Soccercast. We also have an Instagram account that we barely utilize at this point. We're trying to work on that. It's just one of those things that's a little bit more difficult when you're mostly at a computer, and Instagram requires you to use more of the phone. You can follow my personal Twitter if you want to hear from me, DJ Ray Samora, or my co-host Dylan he's at OCSC_Dylan for all of our wonderful Orange County Soccer Club news and shows.
Slapey, where can people find you yourself or your podcast on the internet?
So you can find our podcast. It's another one of the part of the Beautiful Game Network, Speedway Soccer Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Speedway Soccer and Twitter at Speedway Soccer, and you can find me at JSlapeSSP for all of my soccer ramblings. You don't want to find my actual personal account, but yeah, no, check us out. Give us a follow.
I love that this is discreetly turned into plugging our Instagram, even though, guys, the reason the USL show doesn't have one is because I look. What can I possibly show you guys? Nothing.
Well, so I mean,
it's my rig.
I gotta give credit to Ben, who does all of our social media, the young one of the group. So.
Well, Evan, you could go and model all those wonderful scarves you have in the background on your Instagram account. That
actually,
would be...
damn it, that's a really do that. You're ready for the USL show calendar. It's me topless.
We need to get you a Speedway Soccer Pod scarf.
I love that scarf so much. So much. Anyway, I'll stop fangirling over it, but it's really good. Joe, where can people find you or your podcast on the internet?
You can go to raisingbulls.com. You can go to obviously bgn.fm. This is where this is. You can find me on Twitter at raisingbullcast. That's one bull, Raising Bull Cast. And you can follow my written work and my team's written work at Red Bull News Network, rbnn.us. We got a whole stable of writers writing about MLS, USL, and the Academy, and more, even the global teams.
Yeah, you for all that talk about raising bulls, you actually just raise really good writers to write about stuff. It's
I can't take credit for those guys. They found me. They were already good.
But I'm giving it to you.
All right.
It's a gift. Compliment. Yeah, thank you.
Don't you compliment me?
Yeah. If you ever want to know who's from the Northeast on these podcasts, look for the people that deflect compliments. Oh, I'm glad I get to make jokes to another tri-state area person sometimes. Ryan, where can people find you? And well, no, I'm sorry, you're not a guest. You're here all the time. Mark, Mark. Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me in Fuzzy's Taco Shop.
Brilliant.
But outside of that, I actually handed Backchat over to a couple of Martin and Paul, who do a fantastic job. Backchat is still on Beautiful Game Network. And if you want to check out what season, I believe we're on Twitter at Backchat Show, and I occasionally guest on the show, but those guys are doing an awesome job without me. Where I spend most of my time is Last Word on Soccer, where you'll find my written articles. An easiest way to get to those, again, is through my Twitter account, which is at AlWOS_COS. So AlWOS_COS.
There you go.
Thanks.
What's the top places review on Yelp?
I hope that a lot of people search owl, like the bird. The untrained ear, not knowing that was L, like Lima.
How am I supposed to say that? Of all the things I say that sound weird,
because
like
it's an accent thing.
Garage, you're picking me up on a letter, really?
Aluminum. Is that trophy that Louisville City has made out of aluminum? It's probably not aluminum, but
I have Jake Edwards on speed dial. I will shut.
Well, yeah, you're all British. You don't know each other, right? That's how that works. Oh man. Ryan, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me online at ILM_Ryan on Twitter.
It's true, I've been there. If you aren't tired of me yet, and for whatever reason want to read what I write instead of just hear me speak every week, follow me on Twitter at SpeakEvanSpeak. How about that? See, it's a good bit of branding, if I'm honest. If you want to subscribe to the show, a couple ways you can do that. Go find us on iTunes, Stitcher. Listen, if you have a podcast thing and we're not there, let us know. We'll get there. It's not a problem. You can also just find us, theuslshow.com is our website. Also there you will see a box for our Patreon, patreon.com/theUSL Show. Totally optional. Please stop giving us your money. It's the reverse play. You can also find a box for our friends at Soccer Loco. It's orange and blue, but if you're colorblind, it's gray and gray. Click that, and you can buy literally any soccer thing you can think of, cleats, jerseys, all that fun stuff. Go check that out. Say hi to DK while you're there. Yeah, other than that, thanks again to Roughneck Scarves and the Beautiful Game Network podcast for helping inflict this podcast on you every week. Thank you to Ray, to Slapey, to Mark, to Joe, Ryan, thanks for hanging out. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll talk to everyone next week. I know we only have one rule here, but I like everyone to follow it. Just don't be a dick. Take care, everybody.